Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The 35th Guam Legislature is back from recess. When we left off, ladies and gentlemen, we were on Senator Marsh Taitano. You're still recognized. I know you had a motion. Please proceed.
Sejus Masi, Madam Speaker. So notwithstanding the House rules, I move Bill 44-35 from the voting file back to the second reading file for discussion.
Senator Marsh Taitano, I do apologize. Bill 44-35 is the good Vice Speaker's bill from GIGO. So, Vice Speaker, do you have a motion to send Bill number 44-35 to the second reading for discussion? On a motion...
I have no objection to the previous speaker's motion.
On the motion then, Vice Speaker, if I may, if you may.
Okay, sure. Notwithstanding the House rules, Madam Speaker, I'd like to move Bill number 44-35 out of the third reading file into the second reading file.
For this brief discussion.
For brief discussion, and I believe the previous speaker would like to proffer an amendment to bring further clarification on the bill.
Sejus Masi, Vice Speaker. Is there an objection to that? If not, no objection. Hearing no objection, motion carries. Anyone else on the appointments? Senator Therese Terlari, you're recognized on the appointments.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
We'll go ahead and proceed. Um, I'm just telling. Oh, okay. No, I understand. Senator Therese Terlahi, if there is no motion at this time for you, is there anyone else wishing to make a motion before we go back to second reading? Senator Sabina Paris, on a motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Notwithstanding House rules, I move to place Bill 7-35 from the voting file to the second reading in order to make an amendment.
To make an amendment on that motion, are there any objections? Yes, Senator Titagui, do you?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I object to
Thank you.
this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Titagui. There was an objection to move Bill 7 back to the second reading file for discussion. All those in favor to move Bill number 7 at the request of Senator Paris, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Motion fails. Are there any other motions at this time? If not, Vice Speaker Nelson, you are recognized for the motion. What? I do apologize, Vice Speaker.
I believe
I
Senator
understand. I was just told. Thank you, Vice Speaker. Dispensa, Senador Tarlahi, Pito, por favor. Senator Pito, you are recognized. Consigue mo na por favor.
Madam Speaker, si Jesus Masi, Manana si Jesus.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the House rules, I move to place the Committee on Public Safety, from the Committee of Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council, Infrastructure and Public Transit, the nomination of Stephen C. Ignacio to serve as Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department on the session agenda.
On that motion to place the nomination of Stephen C. Ignacio to serve as Chief Police of the Guam Police Department on the session agenda, are there any objections? Senator Tarlahi, you are recognized.
It's not an objection, Madam Speaker, but is this a time to debate that motion? I just want to put some comments on the record.
To put on the agenda is not debatable, Senator. We just need to vote to.
So are we going to debate during legislative concurrence?
It's not debatable. It's to just put it on the session agenda first. To put on the session, notwithstanding, to put is not debatable. I'm asking for the vote. Are there any objections?
Point of order, Madam Speaker,
Yes,
or point
on
of
the point of-
inquiry. I'm just asking, there's a point in the agenda when we're supposed to be able to debate nominees. I know that we almost always don't do that, but there is a point. So I'm just asking if it's right now on the motion to put it on,
Yeah.
or is it during legislative concurrence?
So if it's in legislative concurrence, Senator Therese, Senator Therese, if I may, if we want to speak on the good chief's behalf, the motion has to be made, which is not debatable, to put his name on the agenda file. On that motion?
No objection.
Thank you. No objection? Motion carries.
Further, Madam Speaker, I move to place from the Committee of Public Safety, Border Safety, Military and Veterans Affairs, Mayor's Council of Guam, Infrastructure, Public Transit, the nomination of Stephen C. Ignacio to serve as Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department in the voting file.
Yes. Is any, Senator Regine Lee, you're recognized
I
on the
apologize,
amendment.
Madam Speaker, if I could just request a brief 30-second recess?
I will.
Just
I will
Masi.
grant that.
Thank
We
you.
are in a very brief recess. Emin 35 na legislatura in Guahan is back from recess. Thank you, Senator Regine Bisco Lee. At this time, I will again acknowledge Senator P.2. If you may, please restate your motion.
Sizus Masi, Madam Speaker. I want to restate my second motion.
Your motion.
Madam Speaker, I move to confirm Stephen C. Ignacio to serve as Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department.
Si Diyos Masi, Senator Chalai. Anyone wish to speak on the motion? Senator Teresa Chalai, you're recognized on the motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to all my colleagues. And I want to thank the sponsor for the motion. I stand in support of this motion, and just because it's really been a big deal for the public, I thought it would be appropriate that we make some remarks today. And so I wanted to explain my position, and there were a couple concerns that were brought up. We all know that during the public hearing, I think all the testimony was positive about his character, his fitness for the job, his ability to get along with his colleagues, and not just that, but to really pull them in to work as a team, and how he had risen from, the bottom of the ranks all the way up. It was very inspiring. And he comes from humble beginnings. So that was the theme of the public hearing. But we did also receive, in an email, I received a question about his physical fitness, whether he met the post-fitness requirements, post the POST. And so when I interviewed the nominee, I asked him directly, are you as chief subject to these post-fitness qualifications? And he said, yes, I am. And he said that he, like all the others, are going to be subject to that. And so I was satisfied to hear that he's going to pass or not pass, the same as the others, and that would definitely implicate his ability to serve. So, and then of course the biggest thing that's been in the media is the psych evaluation, in the interim, since the public hearing and now, there has been it's a letter, I guess. I'm sorry. It's a letter, I think it's a follow-up evaluation clarification for appointee Mr. Stephen Ignacio. And this comes from Para-Oceana Behavioral Health Sciences, Dr. Andrea Lighthouser. And this is the one who apparently had written a letter prior to this that said something to the regard of him being unfit. But this letter is very clear, and in bold letters and underlined, it says, based on his clinical interview and follow-up on recommendations as presented in his initial fitness for duty evaluation, Mr. Stephen Ignacio is deemed fit from a mental health perspective for consideration in the position of Guam Chief of Police. And she describes in this letter, which my understanding it's public, that's why I'm speaking about it, it's been put up online. And she describes how, he has stress and he has physical challenges. And I couldn't help but think that I can relate to the stress. I'm not a law enforcement officer by any means, but even in this job, I feel like the stress is definitely, it has an impact on our physical health. And so I just wanted to stand up to say this doctor seemed to be convinced that he was doing the right things to take care of stress, to take care of his health, and that he was very sincere about his efforts. And so she discussed no incidences, except, in psychological or psychiatric area that made me question his ability to serve. And I just feel like this man will have the weight of the people of Guam, and no man is perfect, but he will have on his shoulders, the safety of the people of Guam. And so I just want to wish him well if he gets confirmed today, and I am going to support his confirmation, and I just want to wish him well and know that he has our confidence, at least my confidence. And, but if he needs any help, please, we are all in this together. I would like to put a shout out to the entire police department and all our law enforcement that we are here to help you, and we are working hard, you are working hard, so please, let's just work together, and whatever it is that we can help you with, then let's do that, and let's get our environment, our communities safe for the people of Guam. Situos Masi, Madam Speaker.
Situus Masi, Senator Therese Terlahi. Before I hear Senator Terlahi, are anybody else on the wanting to speak on the confirmation? If not, Senator Pito, you are addressed for the closing.
Thank you very much for allowing me to make the motion to the motion. And thank you very much, Terlahi, for your support. I just want to kind of not invigorate, but kind of just come out with some of the things that I know about the post requirement, because for as long as I've been a senator, I never missed the post meeting, because as a matter of fact, let me just say that I've been a police officer for 18 years. And of course, I do meet those requirements and the criteria of post, the police officer standard testing. And let me just say that, and the previous speaker did mention that, of course, every law enforcement officer is required to have that post certification. And let me just say this, that January 2020 up to December 2020, all law enforcement officers are in for the certification. They need to pass that. And if they don't pass it the first time, they have four chances to, within 90 days, first, second, third, and fourth. If you don't pass it on the fourth, after you take the post test, then you're out of a job. But they give you 90 days to prepare yourself, the first 90 days, second and third 90 days. And of course, January 2020, everybody's got to take the post certification. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
So Senator Pito Terlahi on the motion to place Chief Ignacio to the voting file. On the motion, please. To put him in the voting file.
I move to place Stephen Ignacio to the voting file
As Chief of Police.
as Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department.
On the motion to confirm the nomination of Stephen C. Ignacio to serve as Chief of Police of the Guam Police Department in the voting file. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any more motions before, any more motions for appointments? Before we move back, Senator Sabina Perez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to make the motion, notwithstanding House rules, I'd like to move Bill 7-35 from the voting file to the second reading file.
There was,
To reconsider the
a
amendment.
motion to reconsider is in order. Are there any objections? Is there an objection?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I object.
There is an objection on the reconsideration. All those in favor of Senator Sabina's motion to reconsider, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion passes. Are there any more motions on appointments? Any other pending? Before Vice Speaker Nelson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to move Bill number 44-35 into the third reading file and to discuss briefly.
She needs to move us back into motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like
Vice
to make
Speaker-
a motion to move
Back to the second.
back. Yes, I'd like to make a
To the
motion to
second reading.
move back into the second reading.
On that motion, without any objections, motion carries. Vice Speaker,
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Citos Masi, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion to move Bill number 44-35 into the third reading file and discuss.
Yes, thank you, but Vice Speaker, if I may, because we are going to go in order, we're back to motions on the second reading. I will address Senator Therese Terlahi on Bill 63.
Okay, very well.
That's,
Thank
on
you.
the numbering of. Senator Therese Terlahi, you're recognized on Bill number 63.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thought it was Bill 68, so let me just switch files. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I'd like to move to place Bill number 63-35 on the third reading file. Bill 63 is an act authorizing the Guam National Tennis Federation to assign its lease to its successor entity and for the Guam National Tennis Federation, Inc. to enter into a leasehold mortgage pursuant to 77125B2 of Chapter 77, Title 21, Guam Code Annotated. If I may proceed, Madam Speaker.
Yes, you may, Senator Therese.
Thank you very much.
Please proceed.
Public Law 31-67, which I believe may have been sponsored by our speaker, it authorized a lease between the government of Guam and the National Tennis Federation, which was an association, up at the Dadito Sports Complex. The same section of the law provides that this federation may subject property and its improvements to a leasehold mortgage, which may only be assigned with the approval of the Guam Legislature. It is, this bill is to approve and authorize the federation, which was an informal association, again, to assign its lease to its successor entity, the Guam National Tennis Federation, Inc., which is a formal nonprofit, and to approve and authorize this nonprofit to enter into a leasehold mortgage to secure bank financing to cover the costs of construction of a state-of-the-art tennis facilities. This was what was originally anticipated in the original legislation, and so this bill just gives that subsequent legislative approval to the assignment to this different entity, but really is the same people, and it also gives our consent to the leasehold mortgage. And we have been shown the terms of the leasehold mortgage, and we have been shown the plans of the Federation for the complex itself. The Federation, they've worked to obtain corporate sponsorship, financing, development plans for the new tennis center. They've negotiated construction of 6 tennis courts, 4 child courts, and a small building as phase 1. They've also secured $500,000 in donations and commitments for a similar amount to be paid by several sponsors over the next 10 years, and bank financing in the amount of $700,000 for the remaining construction, which will require this leasehold mortgage on the property that was originally leased from Department of Parks and Rec. They submitted their business plan to the legislature, and it outlined just a few of the things in their business plan I want to highlight are that they intend to serve low to moderate income segments of the community. They will not be a country club for the elite. That's what they put in their plan. They will have free clinics from time to time. School visits will encourage all kids to participate in tennis programs. Low to moderate income kids will have scholarship opportunities. It will enhance the quality of life for residents by providing quality sporting facility. It will provide high-level facility for local and international tournaments. Apparently, we are running out of courts that are usable for international tournaments at this point. Venue for local and international development programs, and position Guam as the tennis package destination. They also put that in their plan. So I just want to ask my colleagues to support this bill and let's add another sport to the list of activities that our youth can join in, and this one's going to be up there in Derrida, and we've seen the success of the soccer, you know, and how that has impacted maybe every family on Guam now. And so we're looking forward to tennis doing the same, and I want to thank the speaker for her vision in this, and we're just following up after years. And I would like to make a motion, Madam Speaker, to add the speaker as the second co-sponsor with me on this bill.
Senator Chalahi, there has been a motion made to add the speaker as the second co-sponsor of this bill. Any objections? No objections. Motion carries.
Sijus Masi, Madam Speaker, and my colleagues.
Speaker Barnes, you are recognized.
Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak real briefly and stand and rise in support of this bill. And Madam Speaker, just so that I can share with the listening audience that I wish I could say that this bill just happened not too long ago, but literally it took almost 10 years. And I'd be remiss, Madam Speaker, if I didn't at least bring a couple of names that were really big advocates in moving this bill forward. They're not with us today. They're in heaven watching over us, and the first that comes to mind is Speaker Ben Pangilinan, who really works closely with me so that we could make sure that as we look at not just advocating sports for our community and our children, but also as a way that we could work closely into promoting and advocating sports tourism. Another one that comes to mind, Madam Speaker, was the late William Camacho, Bill Camacho, who was a big tennis player, an avid player in tennis. He was very key in bringing tennis alive to our island with leaders like Rick Nenetti, my Uncle Rick, and a lot of young tennis players who had the opportunity to go and represent Guam in not just regional competition, but international competition. And when Mr. Camacho, William Bill Camacho, was working on this, he literally worked tirelessly, making sure that he worked closely with the legislature, with the stakeholders like Department of Parks and Recs, and just everywhere he needed to go, Department of Land Management, Department of Public Works. And to everybody's surprise, he left us. And there was a commitment to follow this vision through. And I want to say to the Tennis Federation and to Mr. Torgan Smith, and if I'm missing any of the organization names, I'm really sorry. I just want to acknowledge them for never giving up on this dream, and now hoping it will definitely become reality real soon, that tennis will have a home here so that we can bring regional competition, international competition, even world competition to our island, because as you know, we have had some international competition here, play here, Madam Speaker, but adding these courts and making sure the development of tennis continues to thrive, but more importantly, to teach our children and work closely within our village recreational leaders. This is a great plus. And I just wanted to make sure, Madam Speaker, that those names came to the forefront because they too believed in this vision. And now we're going to truly see that. And I want to thank the good author of this legislation for making it happen, and the whole Tennis Federation for never giving up on the process. So, undangkol na sito Masi, and I stand and rise in full support and thank the author for making me a part of this co-sponsorship. Sana Masi.
Just Masi, Madam Speaker. Anyone else on Bill number 63-35? Senator Chalahi, you are welcome to close. Okay. Would you like to make the motion to move it into the third reading file?
I'd like to restate my motion to move this bill to the third reading file, Madam Speaker. Thank you, my colleagues, and thank you.
On the motion to place it on the voting file without any objections, motion carries. Senator Terlahi on Bill number 68, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I move for the placement of Bill number 68-35 COR on this third reading. 68 is an act to appropriate $150,000 from the general fund to the Department of Administration for continued operation of the Guam Autism Center. This is an appropriation that was made in a prior year, and in 2016, Public Law 33-227 authorized the construction of a DISIT Business Center and one-stop community resource and wellness center. It designated the space for a comprehensive autism center. The space was to be leased at a negotiated rate and to a nonprofit whose mission is to provide a comprehensive autism center where children and families affected by autism spectrum disorder may receive appropriate services in a centralized location. GITA was to issue an RFP to select the lease. In FY 2018, still pending the construction of the DISIT Business Center and One-Stop Community Resource and Wellness Center, the 34th Guam Legislature allocated the $150,000 as an initial investment to stand up this program to the Hunters, and it eventually, through DOA, went to the Hunter Speak nonprofit organization that facilitates the Guam Autism Center today. It provides needed diagnostic and treatment services to families with children on the autism spectrum. The Guam Autism Center is the first service provider in Guam providing applied behavioral analysis therapy, which is an evidence-based and gold standard therapy model. And this is to supplement the services that are currently being provided by the Department of Education through the Division of Special Education, which has really been critical for the needs of the children in our system. But as we know, children can't avail of those services until they are school age. So one of the unique aspects of this program, besides its unique behavioral analysis therapy approach, is that it also is able to reach children younger than the DOE. The FY18 appropriation was utilized by the Guam Autism Center to provide training of technicians, recruitment, to pay operational costs, and it will run out in April. And April, as we know, is Autism Month, coincidentally, Autism Awareness Month. The Guam Autism Center has also started billing health insurance under Hunter's Law of 2017, and that's how they intend to be sustainable in the long term. But this organization estimates that it will take approximately 2 years before the center is completely self-funded. So they've been operating for almost a year now, and so hopefully when this appropriation runs out, they will be much closer to that. During the public hearing on the bill, we received testimony in support and moving testimony on the challenges that many families with children on the autism spectrum are facing, the cost involved, and really just the immense amount of time and the specialized needs for not just the children, but the entire family need to be trained. We received testimony on the positive impact that this applied behavioral analysis therapy has and continues to have on their child's social skill development, in their understandings, their relationships, on their, pretty much their whole quality of life. It's for this reason that I respectfully ask for my colleagues to support this bill, and so that we can give this really small amount of money, $150,000, to this center to continue for the rest of the fiscal year 2019. Many of our families have made this difficult decision to move off island to seek necessary services because they were not readily available on Guam. And this is providing this therapy here on Guam is our effort to make this available so our families can stay on Guam. Sidus Ma'asi, Madam Speaker.
Sidus Masi, Senator Therese. Anyone on the main motion? Senator Mary Torres, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, I wholeheartedly support this measure. I believe it's important to fund the Hunter Speak nonprofit or organization to provide for the autistic children, given the widespread affliction of this disorder to many of our children on the island. But I would like to, if the author will so yield, I'd like to seek some clarification, though, with regard to the fiscal note that was provided for this bill. And in the fiscal note that was provided, there is a notation at the bottom where it discusses that the proposed legislation seeks to appropriate $150,000 from the general fund to the Department of Administration for the Guam Autism Center, run by the nonprofit organization Hunter Speak. There is a note at the very bottom that, and I'll read it, it says, currently all adopted general fund revenues are fully appropriated per the Budget Act. The proposed legislation does not provide language to offset the proposed appropriation with precluding or subsequent language to de-appropriate funds allocated per public law, per the Budget Act, and as a result would cause a variation of $150,000 between fiscal year 2019 general fund revenues and appropriations. So if the author will so yield, is it anticipated that there is going to be an excess in collections, or that there is already recognized an excess in collections? Or is this going to be affected by transfer authority by the governor? I just want to ensure that if I should support this bill, that the mechanism to ensure that $150,000 is provided for this cause is indeed going to be realized, and if the author may so yield.
Thank you so much, Senator Torres. Senator Therese, would you like to yield to that question, please?
I'm happy to yield, Madam Speaker. I'm trying to find this fiscal note in my file. Sorry, I just can't locate it right away. But I think the way that we are tracking, according to the CRER reports, it does look like we have at least 150,000. It may be possible that we have more. And of course, they always say we never know, because that might change between now and the end of the fiscal year. But as of now, if you compare month to month, what was appropriated and divided into the 12 months, we do have enough to cover this $150,000.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mary Torres, does that answer your inquiry?
It does, and it's reassuring. I'm glad to hear. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Anyone else on the main motion? If not, Senator Therese, would you like to close or push? Oh, sorry. Senator Tello-Tadekwi, please raise your hands real high.
Sorry.
Sorry. Senator Tello-Tadekwi, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I didn't know I was that short. Speak for yourself. Right? Madam Speaker, I was at the public hearing, and I'm a big advocate for those who are helping children and who are autistic, as my nephew is autistic, and as I mentioned too as well, they have a great program and center in Hawaii, and that was actually brought up by one of those who were testifying, that how great Hawaii has a center there, and they're going to try and mirror that type of center here on Guam. That's their goal, and it's good to hear, because my nephew wants to come back and live back on Guam, but his son, who is autistic, it's difficult for them. However, Madam Speaker, I want to ensure and make sure that this funding does go to them. And my only concern is that, like the prior speaker, was to ensure that there was money there, and it's not anything just out of the sky. And if I'm not mistaken, Madam Speaker, all FY 2019 budget has been appropriated. So if you're going to do this in this bill, and there is some what we call unreserved or excess, then I think the language should reflect in the legislation. And I would ask legal to look at that scenario there to ensure that the appropriation in fiscal year 2019 to read unreserved, in fiscal year 2019 unreserved. So I'd like to indicate there, because FY19 has already been appropriated, the funding there. So if there is any excess, it has to say excess or unreserved. If you want to take a short recess, Madam Speaker.
On that motion, anyone else wishing to speak? Senator San Agustin, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, if anything, maybe we will take a recess. I'm asking legal to provide us the proper verbiage for
on the
that
motion?
amendment. Yes.
Without any objection, a brief recess. 10 or 11. Wait, we'll just take a minute. Y 35 na legislatura in Guam is in. When I last left, Senator San Augustine, you asked for the recess. Was everything afforded to you accordingly, Senator?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
And on the amendment, on Senator Tello Taitigui, you
I
are
know they didn't, but you, okay, then you do it.
on Senator Tello Taitigui. You are recognized on your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, as I mentioned earlier with regards to ensuring that they receive this money and doing it correct as far as the verbiage in the bill. And I would like to make the amendment, Bill number 68-35 Core, on line 8, page 2, to amend the bill to read, $150,000 is appropriated from any excess general fund revenues in FY 2019 to the Department of Administration, DOA, for the Guam Autism Center operated by the Hunter.
On that motion, without any objection, motion carries. Thank you, Senator Taitigui.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the main motion? Senator Amanda, you're recognized.
Sujus Masi, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to give my Sujus Masi also to the author of Bill 68. I rise in support of the bill. I think it's very fitting that this month in the Guam Congress building we had a very special Autism Awareness Month celebration where we had many children come here to their Guam Congress building for a beautiful celebration where they were able to come up and read a resolution in support of autism awareness. I think many of my colleagues also had the opportunity this month to watch the documentary Blue Island, which was referenced earlier today, to see some of the work of Hunter Speak and this Guam Autism Center, how it's changed many people's lives, and in the short time that it's been open has already made such a difference. And I was very moved by some of the testimony in the committee report, and I'd like to read a little bit from the testimony of Teresa Cruz Blas, the mother of young Eli, a little boy with autism spectrum disorder, who shared, "I can remember snippets in time when I would think I will never know my son's voice. The thought of Eli feeling unwanted and alone because I simply could not understand what he needed from me was tormenting. If I could not understand my child, how could anyone else? PECS through ABA has given Eli a voice. ABA is Applied Behavioral Analysis Therapy. My imminent reality, which seemed hopeless, is now promising. It truly is a beautiful experience to feel connected with my child. There is no doubt that Eli is responding very well to his ABA programs and has accomplished so much more in the recent year than I could have imagined. The Guam Autism Center, through Hunter Speaks organization, has been the symbol of hope for Eli and our family. It is also a symbol of hope for many of our island families on this autism journey who have been fighting, praying, and waiting for the treatment their child desperately needs." So, Madam Speaker, I again rise in support of this bill, and I thank the author, Sujus Masi.
Buen provecho, Senator Shelton, Legislative Secretary. Anyone else on the main motion? If not, Senator Therese, you may close.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'll be very brief. I just want to thank my colleagues for their words in support of the bill, their corrections or amendments to the bill. I hope that it doesn't get held up because of any of these amendments, but because this money is just needed right now. It's needed right now in April. And Dr. Duenas is here with us in our loft. And I want to thank him for being here, and I want to thank him for his efforts really in this regard, because he, along with all the autism parents and their nonprofit organizations, have really taught me, I'll speak for myself, they've taught me a lot. They've brought me along, and I think they're doing what we all need to do, and that's bring our community along in our biggest challenges so that we can understand what the needs are and how we can really help. So he's taught me about this type of behavioral therapy and how bringing this money is able to bring in the professionals that allow them to diagnose and to work with the children. And it allows us to, most importantly, I think, train. It's like a new industry. We are going to train a lot. I think there's a capacity to train a lot of technicians to actually be the ones to work with these children, and that is really going to have a huge impact. And so I just want to thank him for his persistence in this dream, and his looking at Hawaii and other places and seeing and really believing that we can do this here on Guam. So Sizus Masi to all my colleagues and to Dr. Duenas.
Senator, can you move it to the voting file?
I reiterate my motion to move to the third reading.
Voting file without any objection, and no objections, motion carries. Senator Therese on Bill 66-35 COR.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Bill 66 is another autism bill, but this bill is to amend a prior public law, 34-6, and this bill will widen the age range and increase the health insurance coverage to $75,000 maximum benefit per year for an eligible person up to the age of 15, and a maximum benefit of $25,000 per year for a person who's between the ages of 16 and 21. So presently, the law known as Hunter's Law of 2017 mandated a maximum benefit of $50,000 up to the age of 9. And it limited the treatment of autism spectrum disorder to $25,000 maximum benefit per year between the ages of 9 and 21. So this shifts the ages and increases that amount a little bit. According to the Guam Autism Center and the families that testified on this bill, most children on the spectrum require early intensive behavior intervention, roughly 25 to 40 hours per week, and can make tremendous strides with it. The current stipulations under Hunter's Law allow for an average of only 15 to 17 hours of therapy a week for children 0 to 9, and merely half of that for those 9 to 21 because of these caps. Dr. Duenas, who is the co-founder of Hunter Speaks, at the public hearing stated that although it was a great start and critical to bringing ABA therapy to Guam, the present dollar cap and age restrictions severely limit access to much-needed care, resulting in suboptimal treatment and slower, less desirable progress. A new analysis of the 2016 National Survey of Children's Health by Autism Speaks organization found that nearly a fifth of children with autism have unmet health care needs. This contrasts to a 9.6% of children with other disabilities and 2.6% of children without disabilities. According to the national survey, 93% of children with autism have one or more co-occurring health conditions, compared to 62% of children with other disabilities. This finding is backed by considerable research associating autism with high rates of many medical and mental health issues, seizures, digestive disorders, disrupted sleep, anxiety, and others. These complex medical needs, they just highlight the disparity in access to needed services according to this new analysis. And of the circumstances strongly associated with unmet healthcare needs among children with autism, no or low quality health insurance was number one. And there were others. I'm going to not read those right now today. I read these during the public hearing, and these are all on the record. I just want to point out that parental challenges, financial hardship, difficulties caring for the child, unemployment, and being a single parent, those are also listed as the disparities that come along with autism, and this was very evident with the testimony that we've heard all month long, really. And so I just wanted to put that one again on the record. BBMR in its fiscal note stated that the percentage, that this may have an impact, an increase of coverage for ASD, autism spectrum disorder, may have a fiscal impact by having an effect on insurance premiums. And so they cite the Council for Affordable Health Insurance, and autism mandate may increase the cost of health insurance by about 1 to 3%. This is a concern, and I want to admit that that is a concern of mine as well. But I believe the original mandate of the Hunter's Law, it was very apparent at that time, and it continues to be very apparent that there continue to be many children on Guam with not just autism but other disabilities that without insurance coverage we are not going to be able to better their quality of life, and in fact we might without the early care that they can receive with this health insurance coverage, we may complicate matters for them. I want us all to consider the need for increased services for children on the autism spectrum in our community. They've been sorely lacking. We've got estimates out there that everyone agrees are very low estimates because they think the children are just not being diagnosed early enough, so we're not able to get the accurate data as to how many children on Guam are affected. So I want to ask my colleagues for their support on this bill. I'd also like to make somewhat of a technical amendment, Madam Speaker. So we changed these amounts in one section of the law, but we overlooked one section. So this floor amendment has been passed out, and it's the same exact amendment, just in a corresponding section of the code. So I could move that amendment. It's on line 12, page 2.
Anyone wishing to speak on the amendment? If not, are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. On the main motion, anyone else wish to speak? If not, Senator Therese, you want to move it to the voting file? On the motion to move to...
I reiterate a motion to move to the voting file. And thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you again to all of my colleagues.
Without any objection, motion carries. I do apologize. Bill number 22. Senator Jim Moylan, I will recognize you. If you can read the title also, okay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Bill number 2235 is an act to amend subsection 61543C of Article 5, Chapter 61, Title 21, Guam Code annotated relative to the erection of signs which are granted variances or a notice of action to proceed on or before May 15, 2017. Madam Speaker.
And you would like, and it is as amended by the committee?
Yes, Madam Speaker, as amended by the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, and Land and Justice.
And further substituted? And further substituted?
And further substituted as well.
On the floor?
On the floor, yes,
On
Madam
that
Speaker.
motion, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Bill 2235 it makes two amendments to Public Law 3430, which was enacted on July 13, 2017. That bill granted legal authorization for the operation of electronic signage that was granted a variance or a notice of action by the Guam Land Use Commission on or prior to May 15, 2017, despite legal opinion of the Office of the Attorney General that such signage was illegal. However, Public Law 3430 did not extend the same protection to those other forms of signage, such as static signs. So owners of static signs and other forms of signage have also incurred cost in securing legal approval for their signs through the Guam Land Use Commission and in setting up their signage. Owners of static and other signage were also impacted by the OAGs, despite having also been granted variances or a notice of action by the Guam Land Use Commission prior to May 15, 2017. Hence, the only fair and equitable remedy is to give the same legal protection to static signs and all other forms of signage that were granted a variance or a notice of action by the Guam Land Use Commission on or before May 15, 2017. All signs which obtain the proper legal approval should be entitled to the same protections afforded electronic signs under the protection of subsection 61435 Charlie